morning, the Student Parliament of India. At the risk of forgetting somebody very important, I will just say, distinguished saints, divine saints with us today, honorable dignitaries, professors, people of all walks of life, but most importantly today, my audience, the students here present, representing all the other students of India. It is a real honor for me today to be here with you, and indeed a privilege from my agency, the United Nations Population Fund, known as UNFPA, to address this annual gathering of the Indian Student Parliament. UNFPA, for those who don't know us, is the UN Population Fund mandated to work with all nations, governments, member states, with all issues relating to population, from data, census, policies. But at the center of this work is this other topic, which sometimes people would rather not talk about, but which influences and is influenced by population. And I'm talking about something that is part and parcel of the population debate. At the center of UNFPA's work is sexual and reproductive health and rights. Our mission is to ensure that every pregnancy is wanted, every birth is safe, and that every young person's potential is fulfilled. Our goals are very clear. They are to, by 2030, the year of the Sustainable Development Goals, we would like to see a world achieve zero preventable maternal mortality, zero unmet need for family planning, and zero gender-based violence, which includes harmful practices such as child marriage, gender-biased sex selection, female genital mutilation. Now, the topic of the session I was invited to today is the right size. What's the right size of a family? What's the right size of children to have, the right number rather, which in the end translates in what's the right size for a country, of the population of the country. This topic has occupied the minds of many scholars, governments, parliamentarians, and it's been centuries now. Now, even today, I heard very passionate pleas by even student Prati, by our own host, who was very passionately trying to influence me with his views, but since this is a parliament, I will not be influenced. I will just speak out what I believe in and what my agency believes in. I am sure, however, you do not expect me to have a yes or no answer to your question. And I'm not here to ask anyone to agree or not agree. I'm here to just put out facts that we gather around the world as a global organization. If you bear with me, perhaps at the end of my address, you may either start recalibrating or rethinking your belief, or perhaps you'll stick to your view. And since it's a parliament, it's all accepted. We all accept to agree or disagree. What is the right size of a family in India, or even anywhere in the world for that matter? Is this something that can be determined jointly by the whole population as a group, by a government? Does it belong rather to a private domain, the right of each individual, each family to decide? Who among you here present would like your neighbor to come and tell you how many children you should have? Now, within the family itself, we know very well that the brunt of the reproduction role falls on the female partner. So she it is that has to endure the responsibility of carrying another being, another body, in her own body. She witnesses and feels the transformation of her own body over a period of 7-9 months. And then, a few years thereafter, she has no choice. She has to refocus her attention to the rearing of this baby, of this child, into adulthood. Oftentimes with negative consequences to her own health, her career progression, and sometimes a complete change in her looks. What she thought was a model of beauty sometimes has to change. She has to accept that. Now, if that is so, shouldn't the woman then be given that decision to decide how many children to carry, when, and if she wants them at all? Who has the right to a person's body? Because the discussion of population goes down to that very fundamental issue of carrying or not carrying children. Does that belong in the realm of what John Locke, the philosopher, called a natural right, a God-given right? Or is it a common right for everyone to decide? I put it out to you, the students. You are students, intellectual people who need to look at both sides of the debate. Not surprisingly, today I feel so much energy coming out of the benches. And I'm encouraged that you, the young people of today, of India, are organized in this very structured manner and preparing for your roles tomorrow. And some of you may become the true parliamentarians of the nation. I see that you're taking charge of your today, but also you're thinking of your tomorrow, which is your world. And that implies from not shying away from questioning the status quo and addressing controversial questions, unpacking myths, and breaking out taboos. The world you live in today, you inherited from your parents and your grandparents, who were once the young people who contributed to what you call today your culture, your social norms, your way of living. But culture is not a static thing. It's living. Culture and social norms are agreed by a people, has the best way to be or to live together in a given time and space. If it were static, well, I still read in books that we used to be in caves or not even wearing clothes, or whichever way status mankind came from, evolved from. It follows then that this generation, your generation, and you all, have the power, indeed have the right, why not the obligation, to be active co-creators of your world, to define your culture, your social norms. And I encourage you, the young people of today, the leaders of tomorrow, in fact very soon, because you are already in universities, to go ahead and dream big. Human beings are uniquely endowed with the ability to shape the world they live in. Well then, it is your turn now. You who are considered in demographic terms the active population, the young people, the population in reproductive age who have just entered or will enter soon the labor force, and who will enter the world of politics, the world of deciding the fate of many others. It is your turn to shape this world. Do dream of the kind of world you want to live in. What kind of people you would like to have in that world. I'm not talking about what kind of color or race or religion or whatever. Some of those things are already given because you live in this country of India, which is characterized by some of those things. But I'm talking about the characteristics, the intangible ones that link you to that part, and that part that is invisible, but which nonetheless we all feel, that is manifested in the way we treat one another as human beings. What kind of neighbors you would like to have? Would you like to have a caring, a respectful, kind, considerate neighbor? Or maybe you don't mind having a selfish one, a nasty one, a violent, winner-takes-all type of neighbor. Whatever your honest answer will be, then you need to model that very behavior that you would like to see in your neighbor. Because, my dear friends, you too are someone else's neighbor. They are also thinking of what kind of neighbor they want. And together, you both form the community and ultimately your nation, your world. Is this a sign to stop? Thank you very much. What family size is right? What size of population is right for India today, or any nation? India has close to 1.4 billion people in a geographic territory of 3.3 million square kilometers. It is the second most populous country in the world. It is the seventh or probably eighth in land mass. You would say, wow, this is huge, right? But you know, it's not even close to being the most densely populated country in the world. So it seems we still have a lot of space to fill. Is the size of a family of 2 or 4, meaning parents plus 2, the right one? Or is it parents plus 1? Or maybe we will decide that since we are so many, we will not have children at all. Whether we decide to have 1, no children, or 3, the truth of the matter, because the way the population numbers work is that it will continue to grow. Your population will still continue to grow for another 30, 40 years, even if you were not to have any other children starting today. So if we think that by saying the population size should be 2 parents plus 2, coming 5 years from now, the population will reduce, it's not true. That's not how demographics work. If the issue is not space, has one respected Indian scholar, and I'm talking about Professor Amartya Sen, he already a few decades ago was challenging people to think not in terms of population size, not in terms of scarcity of resources. He challenged everyone, nations around the world, to think in terms of distribution of resources. According to him, there is enough food and resources to go around for everyone, based on the production of those days when he was talking. And today, imagine, we have even increased the production. For him, it is about equitable distribution. We at United Nations Population Fund would like to frame the debate in terms of rights and choices for all, especially for women and girls. It is simple why we're trying to say focus a lot more on the women and girls. It's because they are the ones who bear the disproportionate role of reproduction. There is plenty of evidence around the world to show that population rather than a country fertility, which means the number of children a woman would have during her lifetime, self-regulates when girls are given equal access to education, when women have access to quality services of sexual and reproductive health, of maternal health, family planning, when girls and women have the right to choose when and how many children to have, or if they want to have them at all. When younger people in their adolescent, in their puberty time, are given enough information about their bodies, about their sexuality, and what reproduction is and how it works, what we call comprehensive sexuality education or life skills, if they're given that information, they grow up to be healthier adults who make responsible and informed, rational decisions. Then, fertility and population trends around the world show that girls and women who are educated invariably choose to enter the labor force. They want to pursue professional careers, and they want to provide the best for their children. And because of all those factors, they end up choosing to have a smaller number of children. We do have examples also from around the world of countries who already decades ago have experimented with mandating, with coercing the size of children in a family. Today they are having, because we are UNFPA, we work with them too. We are witnessing how they are now grappling with challenges, negative consequences of those decisions. Because in many nations, there is somehow, I mean, I'm a woman, so I'm puzzled. I don't understand yet. There is somehow a preference for sons. I don't know if we had a world of men alone, we could continue having a world. But there is a preference. And so, when those countries who experimented with coercing families to having 1 or 2 children, today they have a big problem in their hands. Because families then are naturally selected to have boys. And so now those boys are men. They have no women to marry. The interactions in society are far from peaceful unless it be by coercion. It creates other imbalances, social imbalances. India is getting close to what in demographic terms is a replacement level of 2.1. At this stage of fertility, the population replaces itself. In other words, a family has enough children to replace the parents who are giving birth to them. India's education has reached almost gender parity and is almost universal enrollment in primary and secondary education. India is a force in the world stage and projects itself as an educated nation. Young people, including girls, are claiming the right and choosing to stay longer in school, to work and to be active citizens. As a consequence, fewer women are getting married before the age of 18. Teenage pregnancies are reduced, and more pregnant women are completing antenatal checkups and delivering babies with skilled birth attendants, and therefore, many more babies are surviving. As more girls and women get access and enjoy these socioeconomic improvements, fertility rates self-regulate and drop. Just look around yourself. Which developed nations where education and participation of women in labor force is almost equal to males, which country like that has high fertility rates? Almost none. In fact, some of those nations are starting to blame women again for not producing enough children. So which is right? Should we have less children, more children? Population can be a blessing or a curse. I take the privilege of being the UN Population Fund to take 2 more seconds. Population can be a blessing or a curse to a nation. It all depends on how well that nation invests and capitalizes on its human capital. Numbers by themselves do not mean anything. It is the quality of those numbers that matter. Today, India has 350 million plus young people between the ages of 10 and 24. It has close to 800 million people in the active population. Now just think, what kind of energy could be harnessed, the productivity that could be harnessed, if only 75% of those young people could reach their full potential through education and opportunities. This year we began the decade of action, according to the United Nations Secretary General, because it leads 10 years from now to 2030, when world leaders will go and report how they have done to each other on sustainable development goals. These goals are anchored on 2 big principles that are different from before. It's the principle of the interconnectedness of people, meaning population, planet, and prosperity, meaning that it's not all about the economy, it's about people and it's about the environment. The other principle is the principle of leaving no one behind. In conclusion, I put the question back to you students, to you young people of today. What is the right population size? What is the right family size? At UNFPA, we will say the secret all lies in giving girls and boys equal access to quality education, to quality sexual and reproductive health services. It is a matter of choice and rights, and we agree with